All right, we are recording. Okay, welcome everybody to the DoorGrow BDM Bootcamp, our first session. We wanted to open this up to everybody because it's new and also because we wanted to give people a little bit of taste of the DoorGrow magic. We're going to be getting into 7 growth engines. And so this will be really interesting. These are different engines that you can build that can feed your business, that can help you get additional revenue, doors, make money. And once you build an engine, which is really nice, it's a lot of work to build an engine. But once you build it, you just have to put fuel in it. You just have to keep it running. And then it's a lot easier. And so as you build these engines and get them dialed in and get the right tweaks and get them working, you can continually make money and it isn't as much work. And these are your own engines. This isn't like paying some other company to do advertising for you, where they own the engine. And the second you stop paying, the engine goes away. And so we're going to show you how you can get unlimited free leads for your property management business without having to spend money on advertising. And so we're going to open your brain up to some of the possibilities. So a little bit about us. So from my team here today, we have Giselle, who's kind of helping out in the background. We've got Sarah, who is the CEO of DoorGrow, and my wife. And she'll be manning the chat and supporting people there and maybe hopefully making some comments so you don't get bored of hearing me talk. And then we have several clients here on this call as well. Appreciate you all hanging out. And for those that are not familiar with DoorGrow, welcome to the party. And those that watch this replay later, I hope you get some great value from this. So what our intention for today is we want to get into these different growth engines. And so what I would like to do is open it up and in the chat, go ahead and throw in some of the questions you have related to business development. BDM stands for Business Development Manager, and related to adding doors. And I want to make sure that we cover some of the topics today that might be of interest to you so that this is relevant to those that are here hanging out with us. And so let me know if you have some questions. And as we go through this, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in. My intention is not to hold anything back. We can't get into everything, and I can't go into all the detail in all of these growth engines, but sometimes just having an idea and a seed thought planted can mean a lot of revenue for you in the future. And we go into these in much more detail in our mastermind and in our program with clients. This will be a series, is our intention. So as we move through this BDM series, if you have a business development manager or you're doing the business development work and you want to be on these calls moving forward, you can reach out to Sarah, or you can email Sarah at doorgrow.com and we can get you into our systems. So let's everybody check in. I want to find out where you at, how many doors do you have, tell us about your business for everybody else that's here in the group. So we workshop this a little bit. Let's start with Baron. Baron, why don't you give people a little bit of background on you, just where you at, where do you manage, how many doors?
But I'm camera shy. I have a hard time talking. So my name is Baron McBride. I'm Northeast Florida Realty. I am in Jacksonville, Florida. I got into property management in 2007 because we did not like the person that we sent our rentals to. So I have dealt with a lot of accidental owners. So over the past couple of years, a lot of those owners have been able to sell. So now I am down to a very low number of 25 because I've gotten rid of so many of my accidental owners. So I came to Jason looking to switch my process and to have more long-term investor owners in my portfolio.
Cool. How's it going so far?
I'm having some increase so far this year, a little bit.
That's good news. Okay, cool. All right. How about we go to Mary? And Mary said, need guidance on where to start on BDMs. Hi, Mary.
Hi there. I'm in Midland, and I follow you. So I've been watching you for quite a while, and I've been curious as far as, what you have to offer and what your trainings consist of. I I I had 12. I had 12 properties, and I only
Mhm.
did, the property management for buyers, some of my buyers that
Got it.
needed the management. I've sold 5, so I'm down to like 7. And I want to
Oh,
grow it. My husband and I have both been talking about it. Um, I need to know where to start, how to, approach these owners, how to approach the out of state owners, and just present myself. And that's
okay.
what
Yeah. You're kind of in the startup stage and
Mhm.
you've got some experience managing. We just got to get this to become a business.
Right.
Right. So
Mhm.
yeah, talk to us later. We can definitely help you out with that.
All right.
And this will be helpful today as well. Cool. Let's go to Brian. Brian Bean.
Yes, sir. Brian Bean, I'm Riverside, California. Dream Big Property Management. I'm a solopreneur and been doing my first foray into property management in 1998 when I bought my first apartment building. And then I got into real estate full time in sales. And we started doing management for our clients, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And just kind of floated around 30 doors here and there. It was really just a breeding ground for listings. And then a couple of years ago, I made the decision I was going to flip that script. And so property management is priority number one now. And we went from, it's been this, I think this week is 1 year with you guys. And when we started
Awesome.
with DoorGrow, it was 33 doors. We're at 76 now. And that's after having the last 3 weeks, I've fired 4 owners. So yeah, it's been a pretty good ride the last year or so.
Cool. Yeah, you spend a good amount of time getting some solid ducks in a row. So and you've added some doors in the process. So that's good. John McVoy in Nashville.
I'm originally from Australia and I'm living in Nashville, Tennessee now. But that's just a fake accent. If y'all don't know me, it's just fun. But what I can do is I can tell to you lots of stories from everywhere across the world. Now, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I have been in property management for, well, probably about as old as Moses was, but I started 1988, and I bought several properties and well, I rehabbed properties and fixed them and sold them and I'm like, this can't last. So I started other businesses and then well, I started a company called Hunley Homes and we bought 47 houses on a contract for deed. So and we owned those properties and we sold those properties and then I joined a property management company and well, um I really kind of started to grow only because, I'd reached out to Jason. And really, a lot of the things that were taught way back when, this was 2015, 2016, the things that were taught were not the way that you're supposed to do things, really, as far as gathering and getting properties. We have over 100 doors. I have 5 or 6 doors right here that maybe I'll take them, maybe I won't take them, but we're going through some of those pains that you have, growing pains that you have. Do this and don't do that, or your maintenance has to be in line. We have a lot of different systems that we employ now that are very or can be very fruitful. We intend to build the company to a greater height. We've hired a person that can help us take care of some of the maintenance. And realistically, getting maintenance under control before you grow is going to have to be the plan because otherwise it's just going to like it'd be the house of cards. But I mean, 105 doors, it may seem like a lot of doors to some people, but it seems like a smaller amount to me at this juncture. 1,000 doors. I will not tell my wife that that's what we want, but I've told my employee Jordan, we want to have 1,000 doors. She go, really? I'm like, yeah, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh. I said, don't tell Priscilla. She's like, she will pull my hair out and hers to boot. And I can grow hair back, so
Well,
it's okay for me. But what's
we've
that,
helped a lot
Jason?
of people. Yeah, we've helped people get over 1,000 doors for sure. We've helped clients that have even more than that. And so BDM stuff is generally an earlier stage problem, which probably explains, the crowd that we've got gathered here today.
Mm-hmm.
And but for those larger companies that are watching the replay later, like if you have BDMs that you want to coach up or train up, or you want to start getting this stuff off your own plate as a business owner, we can help you with that. So cool.
Yeah,
Awesome, John.
it's the business development management part like that. I need to know that because that's what I do, and we don't do a lot of it right now. But I wanted to hear some of the things to get a strategy together that fits me. I like the ROI calculator you have. So I may have said too much already.
That's okay.
You want me to say some more
We do have
stuff?
some cool. You're good, John. Thanks. No,
Okay.
appreciate you.
All
So
righty. Appreciate you.
let's jump over to Matt Snyder.
So what we're looking at, just what things
Just tell us
that,
how many doors you have, or like where you're at in your business. I know you're kind of in the startup stage and you're doing a different type of management.
it's only slightly different. And there's a lot of similarities. It's just, my challenge is going to be to get the meeting. And in terms of what do I say when I get there, I got that covered, but actually, striking gold by actually reaching people is a challenge. And this, for those that don't know, the specifics of this are that I have to find condominium board members who are anonymous publicly. We don't know who they are. They change from year to year. I've got to
You're
find
doing
them.
association management.
Yeah, I've got to find them. And I find them in two ways. I find them through digital needs, just because they do a Google search, for instance, and find out who are other management companies that we can consider we're looking to switch. And the other way is to have them go through their experts, which is their attorneys and several kinds of vendors. So I've got to have good relationships with those. And so I'm in the conversation when someone's interested in switching their management companies, which happens frequently, but I've got to be there. So that's my challenge.
So Matt, where are you located? Where are you doing this out of?
Michigan, so Southeast Michigan. There's a big presence of condominiums here like there is anywhere else. And we've got a number of large players in this market that are doing a relatively poor job operationally, but they've got the bulk of the business. And that bulk of the business is there to be plucked. There's a lot of desire to change from the large players to other players like myself, but I've got to be able to get myself in that conversation. So that's my challenge. And I don't have a BDM or a salesperson. I'm not going to have one for a while. It's going to be me, and I'm well capable of doing that. But just in terms of reaching these people, I'd love to hear some ideas on how to do that. That'd be helpful, whatever you have. I've got my own ideas, but I'd love to hear others.
Okay, cool. All right. The rest of y'all, I don't see your cameras turn on, so I don't know if you're here with us or not. And if you want to comment, but Shanna, Laura, Jacob, if so, go ahead and unmute.
I'm here. Apologies. I am working from a desktop computer remotely in another country right now, so I actually don't have video set up, but enjoying seeing all of you guys' faces. I have been
Where are you at, Jake?
BDM so I'm in Russia right now. My wife is from here, so we're spending 6 months working from here.
Cool. And where do you manage property?
In Kansas City. So it's a family business. I was supposed to just come on for about a month or so to help out my dad and stepmom, and got stuck helping them build the business. So have been in role for just over 2 years. And at the 2-year mark, I had added about 120 units. In the last 2 months, I have closed a couple of multiplexes and have added another 150 just in the past couple months, and have another 120 circling the drain. So we are in a frenzy hiring some new leasing staff and a new administrative assistant and a property manager and some maintenance folks all over the next month or two. So it's been fun.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Sounds like you're making some moves. All right. So well, let's get into this. So let's start talking about business development, and let's get into some of these growth engines. So how many of you have ever done a presentation to a group of real estate agents trying to get some business, hoping to get referrals from them? Yeah. Now, generally, a lot of property managers try this strategy, and it generally doesn't work super effectively. And so let's talk about what does work more effectively. And so this is one of the best growth engines that you probably could build. And I want to share a concept about this. I'm going to draw this out. Let me share my iPad here again. Okay. So let's say there are some investors out there that you would like to target. And we've got this investor here, and this is you. And this is investors. And so if you go to investors usually directly, the close rate is going to be pretty low, right? Because these are cold interactions. It's typically going to be maybe 10% or worse, right? Less than 10%. And so the challenge is reaching out to investors directly isn't a lot of times the best use of your time, but it can be done. We had one of our clients who used our strategies, reaching out directly to investors, and he had good tonality. He had a good methodology of what he was doing, and he was able to go from 0 to 105 doors in 6 months using this strategy. So it can be done. A lot of times though, and so this would be one growth engine, would be just going direct to investors. That could be targeting FRBOs. It could be, just reaching out to different investor groups and meeting investors and hanging out with them. So what sometimes is more effective is if we triangulate this and we go after another person here, and this might be like a realtor, somebody that the investor already has a relationship with and trusts. And so if the investor is connected to this realtor and the realtor can send them to you, then usually that's considered a warm lead, and it has like a 90% or greater close rate. And so that's a lot more effective. It takes a lot less time, because the difference between a cold lead and a warm lead is trust. And so if we can move towards this side of the spectrum, the close rate is a lot higher. There's a lot less time involved, right? There's a lot less time involved, and we can add doors a lot faster. And there's a lot of strategies at DoorGrow that we have that can be stacked that increase the speed of adding more doors more quickly. So for example, Baron had mentioned that he has gone over after a lot of accidental investors. And so just by shifting towards long-term buy and hold investors, he's going to be able to decrease churn in his business, which means he's going to have less loss of clients, which means he doesn't have to replace all those clients every year. It's very difficult to grow a business if you're replacing at least half of your portfolio every year, right? That's a big leak. It's like trying to do a blood transfusion to a body that has a freshly chopped off arm or leg, right? It's just hemorrhaging blood. So we don't want to do that. So as we stack all these different strategies, it can become more effective. So let's get into some of these different strategies. And so the first one I want to talk about, we'll talk about realtor intros. Oops, realtor. There we go. Now, why do I say intros instead of referrals? Because referrals are not very effective. The challenge with referrals, and this is what most people are trying to do, is get referrals from real estate agents. So the first growth engine it's far more effective, and it's far better to build a relationship in which they're introducing you to all of their past real estate investor clients. And so we need to find, to build this engine effectively, we need to find real estate agents that have real estate investors. So they've got several investors that they've worked with in the past in their Rolodex that the real estate agent can connect you to, right? And instead of waiting for these people to have a problem and go, oh my gosh, I need a PM, I need a property manager, help me out, which doesn't happen very often. And if it does, it's probably one of those situations that isn't going to be super profitable for you to manage. Like if they're like, hey, I have a meth house eviction issue right now, I would totally love some help and would love you to take this over. Probably not something that's going to be super profitable for you to be dealing with and taking over. Could you help them? Probably. Do you want to? That's up to you. But we want to build the business that you can build, not the business. We want to build the business that you want to build, not the business that you can build. Those are two very different businesses. And so instead of waiting for people to come up and kick the real estate agent in the shin and say, hey, I need a property manager, who do you got? We want to be a little bit more proactive and come to this real estate agent and say, hey, who do you know that you could connect me to? And they can say, oh, I know Steve, and I know Wilma, and I know Fred, and I know Barney, and all these different people. They're all in the Flintstones. I'm just kidding. And so we can connect you to these people. And if they connect them to you, the close rate is going to be like 90%. It's going to be really high. And then you get to sell to them. When we're trying to get referrals from real estate agents, the challenge is, there's several challenges, but one of the biggest is that people generally don't know that they need a property manager, even if they do need one. And by the time they're actively looking for a property manager on the internet, you've lost the word of mouth advantage. Now you're a commodity and they're looking at everyone else and all your competitors online. And now they're just looking for who's cheapest. Well, I need a property manager, and they all look similar and they all say they do similar stuff. So who's going to be doing it for like 5% or 3% or something ridiculous? Who's going to do it for a flat fee of like, $50 or $70 or something super cheap, right? So they're now looking for the cheapest because they all look the same. So we want to capture people earlier in the sales cycle. So we want to get real estate introductions. And how do we do that? Well, one, we need to kind of kill the idea. And so when we're building this growth engine, we have to destroy one of our big secrets in our training platform on referral secrets. We have to destroy the idea that you want referrals, because that's the default that they're going to try to just give you, which means they will wait till somebody walks up to them, kicks them in the shin and says, I have a meth house eviction issue that I need, and can you help me? Instead, we want the real estate agent to be thinking, who do I know that's an investor that I could connect to you and do an introduction, and you are not going to just be pushy and salesy and slimy and hurt my relationship with them. You're going to be helpful and you're going to provide value, and you're going to do something like one of my clients on here mentioned, the ROI calculator that we have, but maybe you'll run some sort of later. There we go. Not a great multitasker. All right. Maybe you're providing some sort of document that has some details on the property, and you're helping them figure out what it could rent for, and you're showcasing value, and you're helping them figure out all of their challenges and their problems and the things that they might need help on. And you are being helpful and you are being curious. And then and you're having conversations. And how many of you know, if you know you're having conversations with investors that have challenges, you probably would get more business if you had more of those? By show of hands. Hopefully you all raise your hands because you believe in yourself. All right, cool. So we want to make sure that we are focused on providing value, and that we need to have a sales pitch to sell to this real estate agent on them connecting you to their clients, their past clients, current investors they're working with, and they need to feel safe with you. And so part of building this engine is building a really strong relationship of safety and trust with the real estate agent, and then soliciting them to give you a list or go through a list of all of their past clients that are investors, to figure out how could we reach out to them and figure out an introduction that would make sense. And so some of the things that we get into when we build this growth engine is, what is the script that we give to the real estate agent to explain to them how to do a proper introduction? That's important. How can we make this easy for them and less friction? What value are we going to provide? How do we make them feel safe? How do we make the real estate agent feel safe, so that the real estate agent isn't concerned about some of the typical concerns? Like, you probably have a real estate license. You probably also can do real estate. They might be thinking, oh, you might steal my clients. So how do we help them see that? And so some of the ways we tackle this in our script for pitching this, which we also have a script for how to pitch the Realtor Partner Program to the real estate agent. And in this, we use some analogies like the golden goose that lays the golden egg. We don't want to kill the golden goose. We aren't wanting to steal their clients. We will refer the clients back to them. And then other incentives like, hey, we will give you some sort of commission or referral fee related to each one that you send to us. So this could be a money-making thing for you as well. And we will make sure that when clients want to sell these properties or get into additional properties, which we will talk them into getting into additional property, we will connect them back to you. So the main crux of realtor intros is we have to figure out what real estate agents want. And what do real estate agents want? They want more deals. They want to do more real estate deals. And what do you want? You want more deals, but you want property management deals. And so the ultimate relationship is going to be, hey, if you help us get more real estate, more property management deals, or more connections to your investor clients, I'm going to help them do more real estate deals. I'm going to figure things out with them. Maybe creative financing stuff, maybe pulling money out of their existing rental properties to invest in new ones. But I'm going to help them figure out how to do more deals. And I'm going to send them back to you to close it. And you're going to get the commissions. And so we create a relationship. And so it's very easy to reach out to real estate agents and say, hey, do you do property management? And they say, no, I don't. And you say, cool, I do. I think we can make more money together. And let's get together and do lunch and let's talk about how we could do this. And then you'll go through our 4-phase script, which talks the 4 phases. Just to throw you a bone here is we talk all about them. We talk about them. Them. Second phase is all about you. This is where we build trust and connection. Third phase is the pitch. So you're going to explain the partner program. And then the 4th phase is the ask. Like, hey, could you put together a list? Could we get together? Could you connect me to some investor clients? And then once you get some introductions, then that means basically you've kind of closed the deal. And so there's a pipeline of multiple stages that should be built out in your CRM related to working these deals with real estate agents until you get an actual introduction and you start closing some deals. We've had clients add hundreds of doors a year from real estate agents. One of my clients added 310 doors in 1 year from only, he said 5 to 6 real estate agents. So we'll just say 6. And yeah. And so he got to 310 doors. He was at like 60 or something like that when he started with us. So he added hundreds of doors in a year just from a small number of agents. And these are the ones that work with investors, and not a lot of agents work with investors. So to build this engine out effectively, we don't want to waste time with every single real estate agent. Half didn't even do a deal last year. And so you can be a lot more effective. This particular client called 1,000 real estate agents in his market. Kissed a lot of frogs to find a few princes or princesses or whatever. So this is one of the key growth engines that can be very effective. Why? Because the real estate agent is very well trusted by their investor clients. They've done deals with them. they've helped them, and there's a strong relationship, and they can just give some of that relationship to you. They can say, hey, they're the best, you should use them, you should talk to them. They can help you assess the property, figure out what you could get as far as rent, how to make this more profitable. You should have a conversation with them, and those introductions will generally net you a really high close rate. Cool. Anyone have any questions about this? Is this a cool growth strategy or an engine that you would like to build? Give me a thumbs up. All right. John, Mary, and Brian, give me a thumbs up. Anyone else? All right, cool. All right. So this can be really effective. This is far better. Baron too. I see your emoji thumb, Baron. So realtor intro is far more effective than getting referrals or asking for referrals. This would have been impossible if he were just asking real estate agents to refer business to him, if it ever came up. He would probably have gotten like 5 or maybe 1 a month or something really small, right? So we got to build out and create the right incentive structure, and we got to find the right real estate agents to do this with and get this engine built. This building an engine like this minimum takes about 90 days, and it takes some trial and error, and it takes showing up to some of our coaching calls to figure out where are the current leaks in the hose. So if we have a hose here, and there are usually a bunch of different leaks at different stages of the pipeline. And so we need to figure out how do we eliminate each of these leaks little by little so that eventually we have a lot flowing through here and a lot of business. And once we get that engine solidly built, then we're gold. And usually it takes, the reason I say 90 days, usually the first, if we take a 90-day period here, the first, and I should have made those equal. There we go. We'll do that. So the first 30 days, usually we're just starting to build it from scratch. Second, we are getting some things kind of finalized and getting the stuff built out. Finalized. There we go. And then the last are little tweaks and changes. And this is where the magic happens. It's the last 10% of dialing in things that gives you 90% of the results. And so one of the things that this particular client, John Babiarch, did when he, after his first few months of adding doors with us, he then joined our rapid revamp class where we dial in his front end sales pipeline and redid his branding and his sales pitch and everything. And then he had a lot more success, a lot more quickly. Most of his growth happened after he did that class with us, which takes about 90 days. Then he had a lot more results. So, but he spent a year working on this engine. So it takes minimum, at least I would say 90 days to get an engine working. And you only need one growth engine that's working really well, that you've got that last 10% dialed in to give you plenty of doors and plenty of business to the point where now you need to shift your focus away from adding doors to operations. And we can support you and help you with that piece as well. All right. So that's growth engine number 1. We're off to a good start. So let's get into growth engine number 2 and talk about the next growth engine. So similar to this, one of the untapped opportunities that you have are vendors. And so if you imagine right now, if somebody's self-managing and they are doing their own property management, what do they need? Go ahead and throw some stuff out into the chat. Like, what are some of the services that they might need? They need to do everything themselves. So think of everything that you might do for them. They're having to figure this stuff out on their own, right? And so there's different vendors. So throw some in the chat. Okay, cool. We've got insurance. We've got plumber. We've got electrician. Yeah, we've got like heating and air, right? AC. Oops, heating and air. Yeah, HVAC. Carpenters, okay, carpenter. Cool. Maybe they have an accountant, right? Trying to get their, maybe they have some tax advice, maybe a tax attorney, right? So there's a whole host of things they might need. Maybe they have a photographer they use for photos of the property, depending, especially if they're doing Airbnbs. They're probably not good at that themselves. Maybe roofing companies, in general, lawyers, drafting up stuff, and we could go on and on, right? And so think of all the different services. Now you have connections already, if you're a property manager, to several of these vendors and these businesses. And are they aware that you are interested in adding more doors or in getting more property? And have you created any sort of incentive or relationship with them and had those conversations? And so similar to the real estate agents, you can be building out a growth engine with each of your vendors. And this just involves you being intentional, creating a relationship and creating proper incentive structures. The four-phase selling, the partner program, all this stuff is going to be somewhat very similar to building the real estate agent one, which is why a lot of times we start with the real estate agent one. Once you get that growth engine built, then cool, let's extrapolate that into other areas and start to target other services and create those relationships. These are also some of these things are also things your competitors might be using, and you could also be letting them know, hey, we purchase struggling property management companies. So if you know any, just let them know about us. And you may have some deals for acquisition that also come your way to be purchasing other companies, which is a great way to grow as well. So building out these vendor intros, there's a lot of similarities, as I mentioned, to this growth engine of Realtor intros. And so by making a list of all these different vendors that exist in your market, reaching out to them, having conversations, this will take some outreach, just like reaching out to real estate agents will take some outreach and creating some relationship and spending some time with them. But this will be a really good investment. Not only that, but how many of you have had some trouble sourcing vendors for different jobs and different issues? This is a common problem in property management. So if you have relationships and connections with all of these, you then have some backups. You then have some other vendors and other tools and services you could be working with. And if you use the strategy of how to start a maintenance company, which is a training in DoorGrow Academy that we have for our clients, you can negotiate with some of these vendors to do things at a lower rate by taking some of the work and bids and things off their plate that they don't want to be wasting their time doing, and negotiating a lower rate and getting them to do it at that lower rate for you. And then you can mark it up to a normal rate under your own management, your own maintenance company brand, and make a lot more money by doing maintenance, just as much as you're probably collecting in fees on the management side. So some of our clients will double the amount of revenue they're pulling in their business. You're already basically managing maintenance anyway. You just have to set up a business entity and do that. So we talk about that in DoorGrow Academy a bit, but that could create some more opportunity for you. So there's a lot of benefits and advantages to having really good relationships and connections to these vendors. That's one of the big reasons that people work with you, is because of your connections and the relationships that you have. And any of you gotten any business from vendors like this yet? I know I have lots of clients that have. Brian, who have you gotten some business from?
Ran into a contractor who was actually introduced to me by one of our handymen, and the contractor ended up having a good relationship with the investor who had a couple of doors. I got a call yesterday from someone who's an HVAC guy and was calling about a payment that was late. It got lost in the mail. And I said, well, I'll get you out a check right away. And then he's immediately saying, hey, if you need, are you taking on more clients? Yes, we are. Let's go get a beer and talk about it, And so I'm actively pursuing the vendors, how we can, what's in it for them is what I'm always thinking, is how can I share value?
Awesome. Cool. And that's really a big part of it is in the 4 phases. 3, 4, right? When you're pitching this, it's all about them. Like, what do they want? What are their problems? What are they trying to solve? How can we create a win-win? Then you're going to get into you and build that trust, build that golden bridge, share why you do what you do, besides just trying to get money, and showcase value. And then you're going to create some sort of offer or pitch, right? Pitch your referral program, pitch doing something together. And then you're going to ask, like, hey, what would be the next step that we could do in order to move things forward? Who could you connect me with, so that I can give you this benefit that I talked about here, which maybe is money or something, right? And so if you put together a really good pitch, then they're going to be feeding you business. And the cool thing is, every real estate agent, every vendor that you have, I see some other mentions of city inspectors. Yeah, they see problems all the time. Hey, you should talk with so-and-so over there. They're better. They'll manage your property, or they'll take care of this for you, or whatever. So Jacob mentions BNI has been a good tool. I'm not a big fan of BNI groups in general a lot of times, because usually there's not a lot of people in the room. Like if you say, hey, by show of hands, how many of you have real estate investments? And in that group, you don't see a lot of hands go up, probably not a great audience. And if you say, by show of hands, how many of you have clients that have real estate investments, have, at least 10, 20 clients that you could connect me with, and you don't see hands go up, you're probably not in the right group. It's probably just a waste of your time, right? And so there are better groups, or you can create groups of investors, or groups of real estate agents, or groups of, vendors. You can build your own groups. And sometimes that's better than spending the hours and time in BNI groups where there's sort of a obligatory sort of relationship. So, but if the group has people, or even one person in it that can connect you with 10, 20 different people, then that could be worthwhile until you've kind of milked that group dry, which wouldn't take very long if there's only one person. So generally there's like one real estate agent and one of each sort of system or vendor or whatever category in a BNI group. But yeah, so if you map out if you go through all 4 phases with them, you build these relationships. What's really cool is, let's say each of these is just on average giving you a door maybe once a month, like on average. Maybe they send you a 2 or 3 unit, you get 2 or 3 doors, and that happens maybe every 2 to 3 months. But every single one of these that you add can be, on average, is helping you get more business. Same thing with multiple real estate agents. And you don't need a lot of these relationships if they can feed you a little bit of business here and there. You can build out multiple of these. And so it's kind of like you built this affiliate program where people are feeding you business, and you're not having to do the marketing and do the sales and spend a bunch of money to try and acquire clients. And so you've built all of these little feeders, or these little affiliates, or these little salespeople for your business that are feeding you business. And the close rate, again, is going to be really high, right? Like 90% or higher. And so these are easy, warm leads to close. We're not going to have to spend a lot of time trying to nurture them, build trust, and create relationships, because this carpenter is like, hey, I send all my best people to this property manager. They're the best. You should you should totally use Mary Escalante. She's the best in that area. Or, hey, I send all of the accountant's like, hey, if you're struggling and I'm seeing your numbers here on your property, you probably should go talk to Brian Bean. He's really good at making these things cash flow and making these effective. Like, he's the best. And so now a lot of times they can't give you people's info. Like there's, they can't just be like, hey, Brian, here's my list of clients, right? They hold that stuff close to the vest. And if they're a lawyer or an accountant, there's probably legal ramifications for them to do so anyway. But what they can do is they can give people your info. And so we want to make that as easy as possible for them to give out your information. So make sure they have your website, make sure they have your business cards, make sure they have whatever it is, brochure, whatever it is that they can easily give out to people and say, hey, maybe you should have a conversation with them. And if you want to +1 that, the +1 is if you connect with them, they will give you this piece of value. Like they'll run a pro forma on your property. That could be the ROI calculator. That could, that we have a DoorGrow, or it could be some sort of piece of value. Maybe it's a rent range report, from Rent Range or something, what it could rent for, but you're going to provide some sort of value. And so, hey, reach out to them and they'll give you this. And if you can come up with maybe even 2 or 3 pieces of value that they might get, that could be in a little brochure or a little thing you could give to them. And it makes it really easy for them to get those people to talk to you, because it's not, hey, go talk to this property manager and then they'll get all salesy on you and try and sell you their services. It's, hey, go talk to, Matt Snyder over at such and such property management, and he'll help you assess your property, figure stuff out. And who knows, you may even consider using him to manage your property after you have a conversation with them. But regardless, he's happy to provide some value to my clients because of our relationship. Cool. Anyone have any questions about vendor intros? All right. How many of you are wanting to build this growth engine by show of hands? All right, cool. All right, cool. This is the second engine that you could build. And even just one of these built out with enough people could feed you your business plenty of growth for life. All right, third, let's get into a clever strategy we call the neighbor strategy. And if you're interested in learning this strategy, we actually give this away at neighborstrategy.com, even if you're not a client, because we want all of our clients to be able to use this with all of their neighbors and give this out to their neighbors. And so you can give out this neighbor strategy to your neighbors and to yourself. So this is a really cool strategy that makes it easy to get neighboring property management companies to connect and send you business. So you can go into greater detail by going to that and getting the training and exploring it, but I'll go into high level here. So let's say this is you, and this is your management company area. And outside your area, maybe there's a bunch of different property management companies, and there's business owners that own those. And they do the exact same thing as you, for example. And so the way the neighbor strategy works is if you reach out to each of these neighbors and you say, hey, if I get business in your area, I'll send it to you. And if you get business for my area, reaching out to you or calling you, and they say, hey, do you manage, in this area? I'll send the business to you. Really simple way to build some really good relationships. This is a better strategy for those of you that have maybe at least 100 units or more, because you are going to be getting a lot more phone calls and things coming in. Now, what typically happens when you get a phone call and they say, hey, do you manage in Tucson and you only cover Phoenix? You just say no. And so then we take this perfectly good piece of gold. I'm going to try and draw a gold bar here. We'll put 24K on this so you know it's gold. There you go. So we've got this gold bar, and we take that gold and then we just throw it in the trash, right? Because, we can't get the gold out of that because it's not an area that we cover. I can't reach it. So we just throw it in the garbage. So this gold versus garbage analogy is really helpful for them to understand, because how often have you gotten phone calls? Some of you have gotten phone calls before where they said, do you manage in this area? And you say, no. Or they say, do you manage these type of properties? And you say, no. Do you do association management? No. Do you do storage units? Or do you do mobile home parks? Or do you do whatever it is they might need? Do you do commercial management? Oh, no, we don't do that. So you throw that gold in the garbage, but somebody else would love to have that, right? The old adage, one man's junk is another man's treasure, right? There's perfectly good gold and you're throwing it in the trash. And they are all getting gold all the time, nuggets thrown at them that they are just letting go into the trash that you would love to have. You would love to have it. You'd be so grateful to be able to have those leads. And so they can be feeding you business regularly. And not only that, but each of you have a list of investors that you work with, and they might have rental properties that they have that are in your market that they can't manage. And they're currently managing properties for them in their market, but they might have properties in your market the house is getting worse by the second here, but there we go. So they might have properties in your market that they could connect you to, and they'd be like, hey, yeah, my owner Fred has like 2 or 3 units over in your market. Let me introduce you. And so again, you can use that strategy of introductions and getting their list and going over your mutual lists with each other. And obviously, if you have a decent sized list and portfolio, that makes you more attractive to your neighbors. Hey, yeah, I've got some investors and they have properties in your market. Let's have a conversation, right? And in general, we want to give value often before asking for value, because then we create what's called we create this leverage that is referred to as the law of reciprocity. Reciprocation. They feel this need to reciprocate. So we can build out this, and just imagine how amazing it would be if you had all these property managers feeding you business whenever they got leads or opportunities. They didn't just throw it in the garbage, they actually captured the lead. So how do we make this work? Well, in the training, I teach that the way to do this is first, there's 3 major steps. And if you do these 3 steps, these leads will be converted from a 10% to a 90% close rate. We'll take them from a cold lead. How do I do cold? We'll do like an ice cube or something here. Cold to a hot lead, right? We'll do fire here, right? And how do we do this? There's 3 steps. Here's one of the secrets in this neighbor strategy. So first, you need to capture the lead, right? So if they call you, you capture the lead, you get their info. Oh, you know what? We don't cover that area, but let me get your information and I will get your information over to the John McVoy. He's an amazing property manager over there in Nashville. We just don't go out that far. Oh, okay, cool. Capture the lead, provide the info. Let me give you John's cell phone number. Well, John probably doesn't want to give out his cell phone number. Let me give you John's mainline number that his auto attendant and his team will answer so you don't bug him. But let me give you John's company's info. Here's their website. Here's their phone number. So this creates, here, we'll use different color. This creates 2 different opportunities for this potential deal to happen, right? Because if you capture the lead and you then give it to John, you give it to the PM, and you provide the info so that they can call and reach out, there's double the chance that this deal is going to happen. So that increases the odds significantly. And then the third, which is the most powerful, is you are going, this is where this magic comes in. You are going to say they're the best. This is who I would use if I were having a property manager in that area. You got to talk to John. He's the best manager over there. This is where you turn it into a warm referral or a warm lead, right? So this is where it becomes really powerful. And so I recommend you use them. So capture, provide the info, and then talk them up, right? This is where you create this warmer lead and convert it into a warmer lead for them. So you're taking something that you're helping refine that gold for them to some degree. Now this is really even better. This is even better that you're giving it to them. Then I could text John and be like, hey, John, I just got somebody calling, asking for somebody in Nashville. And I don't go out that far. Here's their information. Get on it right now. Like, call them up. John's gonna be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. He's gonna call them up and he's gonna close the deal because John knows how to close deals, right? Because he's been working with us and he's awesome. All right. So cool. This is the neighbor strategy. Now you're probably thinking, that's pretty cool. Here's where it gets even cooler. Let's say now I want you to focus on in your existing market. They're like, that's great with property managers around my market. And you can add as many as you want to. Sometimes there's weird relationships between states even. So it could go out even further. Like there's this weird connection between Florida and New York, right? The people traveling, there's sunbirds, snowbirds in different states and stuff like this. So you could be creating relationships with different property managers. And as they get connections with people and know people, they can be connecting you to other people, right? So this can get bigger and bigger and bigger. Obviously, the people that are right next door to you could be great neighbors. Now, This is you in your market. We're going to zoom in here. Let's say you only do single family residential and small multi, which is typical of a lot of our clients, right? You're like residential. But there are some commercial managers and maybe association managers and whatever other types of managers, right? But that exist in your market. And so they're not direct competitors of yours. They are your neighbors and they are in your geographic area. They do the same area as you, but they don't do the same type of management as you. You also can be building relationships with them to where you're both giving each other business. So also start reaching out and having conversations with these neighboring property management businesses that are inside your market that do a different type of management. So Matt Snyder, who wants to focus on condominium and association stuff, could be reaching out to all the single family residential companies that are in his market that are investors, and some of them may end up having condos. Some of them may end up having associations that they're connected to. And so he can build relationships with all the other property managers that are inside that market. So they could be getting connected. And so there's opportunities there. Somebody might have a single family residential and then also have a commercial property that they own or that they've invested in as well. Investors, one thing we know about investors is they want to invest, and they keep investing in different opportunities and different scenarios and different situations. So, cool. How many of you are going to start building some neighbors and getting some neighbors? Mr. Rogers style, won't you be my neighbor? Yeah, by show of hands. Okay, cool. So the neighbor strategy can be very effective. So Sarah, for example, when she had her management business in Pennsylvania, she was getting business, and she still sends business because she still gets calls for her old business to one of our clients that are in that Pennsylvania market or neighboring that market. And so she got business, and so they were exchanging business. They had opportunities come to them. Hey, do you manage in, Wilkes-Barre? No. Okay, cool. Do you manage in Scranton? Here, blah, blah, blah. So they were sending each other business. And that could be easily be adding you 2, 3, 5 units a month, and very easily. Cool. All right. That is the neighbor strategy. All right. We've been at this for about an hour. There's another hour. We've got several other strategies. We're through 3 of them. And let's get into the next one. So this is strategy number 4. Let's talk about online reviews. All right, online reviews. So what's cool about online reviews is there's lots of different channels out there. You've got like Yelp, and you've got, I don't know, we could say like Angie's List, and the big ones like Facebook and Google. And there's lots of places where you could have reviews and et cetera. And we could go on and on. There's several different review sites. The big players are Yelp, Google, Facebook. Related to local SEO, there's City Search, which goes out to all of these are connected to various aggregators and stuff like this. Now, online reviews, and then for those that don't have some sort of tool, we have a really cool tool called gatherkudos.com. You can check it out at gatherkudos.com, and you can sign up for it. It's really low cost, and it can help facilitate this whole process in leveraging online reviews. In our training platform, we have a training called Reputation Secrets, and we talk about this growth engine and getting this built out. So how do we get this engine built out really effectively? Well, we know that online reviews create warmer leads, right? It creates trust. It's better in a lot of instances to have the best reviewed company on Google and some of these sites than it is to have the top spot on Google. Why? Because the top spot on Google generally attracts the people that are at the end of the sales cycle or that are searching for a property manager. Whereas when people are checking review sites, there's more trust. So it's going to be a warmer lead in general. People trust online reviews. Set in a survey from like 2015 or 2012, which is a while ago. They said 70% of people trust online reviews as if it's word of mouth from a trusted friend. I would imagine that number is even higher now, depending on the review site, right? So people trust Google, Yelp. If your reviews are good, people trust it as if it's like from a friend. And so if you are wanting to this is a growth engine that you can have team members help you build that will just bring in business very easily. And this is one of the most, of all the growth engines, this is the one of the most easiest to just get business from without much effort. There's not a lot of effort. And the effort that you need to put in is to reach out to your existing clients and your existing tenants and solicit feedback. And so how do we build this growth engine in the business? Well, first, just like all of these growth engines, they should all be built out in your sales CRM. If you don't have a good CRM, I highly recommend DoorGrow CRM.com, right? So we've got a really great CRM, and we have these different pipeline stages in there. So you'll need to build this out in your sales pipeline for getting online reviews. And what you will do is somebody joins that pipeline or gets fed into that pipeline when they become a new tenant or a new owner. And you're going to reach out to them and solicit feedback from them. But you want to do it in a way that's effective. So in Reputation Secrets, we talk about how to leverage doing that by doing leveraging the law of reciprocity and first pointing out the good that you've done for them and using certain language or scripting to say, hey, how do you feel we've done? And ask them after you pointed out all the good that you've done for the tenant or for the owner that's new. And we want to do this at peak happiness. So this growth engine, you want to first focus on peak happiness, which generally for the owner, your owners and your residents or tenants is usually a tenant placement. Like after that's completed, maybe after tenant placement and the first money has been handed to the owner, right? They've gotten paid. Then you're going to ask, well, first you're going to talk with them and have a conversation, and you're going to point out all the good you've done for them. So if you've had clients for years, you could reach out to any of them and say, hey, I wanted to do a review on your account. Just point out all the stuff that we've been doing for you. And you can give them a bunch of vanity metrics, talk about all the money that you've paid them, all the stuff that you've done. And we've handled this many maintenance requests. We've done all this stuff. Point out everything you've done. And then you're going to ask for feedback. How do you feel we've done? You've just pointed out all the good that you've done for them. They feel this need to maybe reciprocate, and to some degree, you've kind of built up some sort of debt there. And to some degree, hey, we've done this much maintenance. We've done this. We paid out this much money to you. We've handled all this stuff. We handled this many phone calls that didn't have to come to you. We've had this many hundreds of text messages between us and the tenant and vendors. All this stuff you haven't had to deal with. And, Fred, help me understand, like, how do you feel we've been doing so far for you? How do you feel about XYZ property management? It's a pretty loaded question because you just pointed out all the good. And they're going to say, oh, wow, well, you've done so much for me. This is important because they can't see what you've done for them until you point it out. And this strategy of Reputation Secrets actually increases the lifetime value of your clients, or CLV, customer lifetime value. It increases the lifetime value. It increases your retention rate with them. It increases the good that they see. If you have a problem, with their property or with them, they're less likely to jump ship and go to another company because you've built some goodwill, which gives you some grace. And so it's important to make that visible to them because otherwise it's invisible. They don't see all the stuff you're doing for them. They can't see that you're doing good for them. And so they think you're just basically doing nothing and collecting a piece of their rent money, right? Which is one of the biggest complaints about property managers. well, they just collect rent and don't do anything, right? But you probably are, right? So you need to be that squeaky wheel that points out the good stuff that you're doing for them. And so this strategy has a lot of side benefits besides just getting you more business. And then you're going to ask, and they're going to say, oh, you guys are great. They're going to say something positive, and then you're going to ask for a review. Cool, Fred, thanks so much for like sharing that with me. That makes us feel really good. I'm glad you're having a good experience with XYZ Property Management. Would you be willing to share that feedback about us online? That would really help me out. I would really appreciate that. And they're going to feel obligated because you pointed out all this good. They're going to say, yeah, I'd be happy to do that for you. Yeah, I'll do that for you. Awesome. And now we want to work this like a deal in sales, which means we don't just say, okay, here's our Gather Kudos link. You give them your Gather Kudos link, your gatherkudoslink.com / XYZ management or whatever. You'll give them your Gather Kudos link and say, cool, I'm going to send you this link. I'll text it to you. I'll email it to you. Could you complete this? It would really help me out. It would really mean a lot to me. And they'll say, yeah, sure. Now you're going to put them into an endless loop. So this is what's important. You ask them and they say, sure. They say, yes. This is the client, or it could be a tenant. And they say, yeah. Like the tenant, you're like, how do you like your new place? We've got this. We did your initial maintenance stuff. We got you your keys, everything. How do you like it? They're like, oh, it's been great. How's it been working with XYZ management? Oh, you guys have been amazing. You guys are taking care of everything. We feel like this is really great. Thank you so much. We love hearing that. Would you be willing to share that feedback related to XYZ management online? That would really help us out. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Awesome. So they say, sure. And then you're going to put them into this endless loop where you're going to say, cool, could you leave us that feedback? And if they say yes, then you're going to say, cool, if I'll send you this Gather Kudos link. If I don't see your review come through in the next week or so, would it be cool if I follow up? And they're going to say, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So then you are going to follow up again. Hey, Fred, I hadn't seen anything come through yet. I know you're really busy. You had mentioned that you would be willing to give us that positive feedback online. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, I've been so busy. Hey, no problem. Not a big deal. Do you think you still have some time or have a chance to do that? Could you do that today? Oh yeah, I'll get on that. What's the link again? Oh yeah, it's our gatherkudos.com / this, and you can pick Google or Yelp or whatever you're most used to. And it tells you how to do it and shows you directions. Oh, okay, great. I'll do that. I'll do that right now. I'll do it today. All right, cool. I know you get busy. If you don't have time to do it today or don't get to it, by next week or something, I'll reach back out to you and remind you if that's okay. And they say, yeah, sure. Feel free to reach back out. So now they're in this endless loop. The only way they escape this endless loop is if they leave you the review online, and hopefully it's like 5 stars, right? You get the review. And then in your sales pipeline, you mark that deal as won or closed. And so it's off. Otherwise, you just keep reaching back out, and your team are gentle and kind and remind them and ask to be helpful. And if at any point they either leave a review or they say, no, I don't want to do it. Actually, I don't feel comfortable doing it. Hey, no problem. Not a big deal. So we're leveraging a lot of reciprocity, and the nicer you are, and the more good stuff you point out, right? Oops, I meant this one. More stuff you point out, then the more likely they are to do this. They're going to feel this burden of debt or responsibility that they've agreed to do this, and they're going to give you a review. And this is how you can get at least 50%, the majority, maybe even, or more of all of your tenants and owners to give you positive reviews online. If you don't have a system like this, if you don't build this engine, the default is the only people, if you've got people that are happy and people that are not, the only people that will give you reviews generally will be these people because they're very motivated, right? They are so motivated to leave you reviews online. And these ones aren't thinking about you because they're happy. And so we need to build an engine or a system so that we can shift this so that the majority are giving us positive reviews online because we have a mechanism for soliciting this in an ethical and kind way that doesn't feel slimy, and they feel a need to reciprocate, so that we are getting the majority of people to do this. And these just look like an outlier, because by comparison, this would only be a small percentage that are negative. And then we're getting the majority of people that are giving us, high ratings. And this is how you play the game of online reviews. And if you're the best reviewed company in your market, I guarantee you will be attracting plenty of business. I've had clients add easily 200 doors a year just from having a good reviewed company, easily. And without really hardly any effort or work. They just have built it into their onboarding process. This is part of onboarding new tenants and owners. It's just part of the process. They built this machine, they built it in, and their team members just reach out and say, hey, how's your experience been? And if it's negative, they deal with it. But if it's positive, then they solicit and make a request for feedback. Cool. So we've got scripts for this. We've got the sales pipeline stages. We've got a training on how to make that effective. We've got how it talks about in the training how to deal with the negative reviews so that you look better and don't look bad, and all this kind of stuff. And so that this growth engine can be very effective. How many of you, has anybody worked on building this engine yet in their business so far with us? John, are you guys doing some outreach to your tenants and owners?
Yeah, I do. And something that you had taught me a little while back was a little bit different. I believe you taught me to say something along the lines of, once they gave you the compliment, it was like, oh, that is awesome. That makes me feel really good. Would you mind,
Yes.
telling that to other people? It's a little bit different twist, and it may be a little more comfortable. It may be like, because then, I mean, now you were saying that just tell people online. Would you mind telling other people like that? Yeah, sure. How do I do that? Well, great. I'm going to send you this link. It's called Gather Kudos, and you can put on that we're not accepting anything less than 5 stars now, because we have to have that, right? You do agree with me that we're 5 stars, right? He's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. So, I mean,
Well,
because
yeah,
you'll
if you're
get
light
people
with
that
it and
review.
you're jokey about it, that can work really well. What you don't want to
Mhm.
do is like, oh, I once got a BMW at a dealership once, and they were just so slimy. They were like, every single person was like, hey, give us 5 stars, 5 stars. The survey people are going to call you 5 stars. So by the time like we got a call, like it was definitely not 5 stars because it was so obnoxious, right? So we want to be careful. And I like how
Right.
you use humor to kind of lighten that. So
I'm just funny.
yeah, me too.
I like
Spoonful of
I like funny and vigor
sugar
and
makes
living
medicine
large.
go down.
Yeah, so anyway, that I mean, the people that I would speak with, that are not enamored with anything that would be humorous, I would use a little bit different approach. But I do tell them, like, we got a review from somebody that gave us a 1 star. We don't even know who they are. I got to combat that. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but um, that's one of the things that I've used before too. I'm like, would you mind helping us out? I mean, we just talked about a great thing that we've just done for you. Would you mind telling somebody else about that? Would you mind telling people?
Yeah,
No, we
yeah,
don't mind. That's great. We'll do that for you, John. So that's just
great.
a little bit different thing that I do that might be helpful for the other people here.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, all right, so let's move into the next strategy. This will be we talked about the neighbor strategy, we talked about online reviews. And one thing I want to point out about online reviews is that these companies, a lot of you are trying to figure out, how do I get more traffic? Well, all of these review sites help your organic SEO rankings. Google looks at review diversity, like how many different sites do you have reviews on? They look at review quantity, how many reviews do you have? Do you have like 126 reviews, or do you have like 5? And do you have, and then they also look at the review rating. Do you have like 5 stars or 3 stars or 2 stars, or what are your ratings? And so they look at all these factors, and these are local SEO organic ranking factors. The other thing to realize is that all of these sites, Yelp, Google, Facebook, etc., every site that you can have reviews on They spend millions of dollars, maybe even more than that, maybe billions or trillions, to drive traffic, to have traffic to their sites. And so they want people using their sites. They want to incentivize people using their sites. They get business owners to use their sites, like restaurants, they use Yelp. And so they have traffic they've paid for that you can just grab, and you don't have to be paying for their services. Some are paid services like Angie's List. I think you could pay for Yelp. You don't have to. But a lot of these, they're monetizing their traffic anyway through ads and other things. And so if you can get traffic to these sites, if you can start to siphon away a little bit of that river flow of traffic to yourself, you can be nice, fat, and happy in your business, right? And so online reviews, very effective strategy. All right, let's get into, let's talk about just going direct to investors. Direct to investors. So one of our clients, Ken Hardman, last year joined our program, and I'd mentioned he went from 0 to 105 doors in 6 months, going direct to investors. Now, before he did that, he went through our rapid revamp class. And we got his business really well dialed in on the front end, which is very important. It makes that a lot more effective. So if you're going to go direct to investors, you want to make sure we've shored up all the leaks in the pipeline or in the hose, so to speak, which means your branding is right, your reputation stuff is good, your sales pitch is good, your purpose or why you do what you do is clear. Like all these things we focus on in the rapid revamp. Once those are dialed in, it's going to be a lot easier. And then we just need to reach out to investors. And so this is a pretty simple process. First, you just need a list. You need a list of investors. There's lots of different ways you can get a list. You can get a list from title companies of non-owner occupied investors or properties. You can get lists of the owners of those properties. You can then go get those lists skip traced and find the phone numbers of these particular people's names and addresses and do some skip tracing. There's different tools and services out there that can do this stuff. But you need to build a list. You need to have people to reach out to. The other is you can build a group. We'll talk about the group strategy later as another strategy. But you need a list. Then you're going to reach out to this list and you're going to be helpful and curious. Now, this is where there's the most difficulty. I've coached clients quite a bit on this, and generally, if you're reaching out to this list, this is going to usually sound like a cold call for most people. Cold calling is not very effective. And so if you're reaching out to these people cold and saying, hey, I'm so-and-so with XYZ Property Management, and I was wondering if your property is vacant or if we could help you out or blah, they're going to be like, no, thanks, I'm not interested, or they're going to hang up on you because there's so much sales resistance there. And so just for contrast, if I called up and instead I was like, hey, hi, is this Fred? Yeah, this is Fred. Hey, Fred, I'm looking at this sheet, and I ruffle the paper and you can hear it. I'm looking at the sheet right here of 123 Sesame Street. Is this your property? Oh yeah, that's mine. Like, why? What's going on? Oh, nothing much. I noticed, I saw it over on this rental listing site, and I noticed that it's vacant right now. It's been on the market for a while. Yeah, for a little bit. Oh, okay. And if you're just curious and helpful, they're not going to hang up on you right away. They're going to be, you need to draw them in. And so making sure that you build out how you're reaching out to them, that you're curious and helpful, and that you are not too salesy and creating sales resistance. And so this is some of the things that we would have to coach somebody on. But when you're being coached in this stuff, a lot of times we have trouble or problems doing cold outreach to people because we know that sales resistance feels gross. It feels icky. And we don't want to be the person creating it in other people. And there's ways to avoid creating that, and so that you don't feel icky and you aren't being icky to other people. You're not being that slimy salesperson. Now, some of you, you're like, man, I'll just make cold calls all day long. And you probably just through sheer brute force and sheer numbers could eventually get plenty of business by doing this strategy. If you're just willing to do what other people are unwilling to do, you'll get business. But it could be infinitely more effective and infinitely less awkward and get you a lot more business. And this is what Kent was able to do. He was just curious and he was just helpful. And his intention and goal was he did the cold outreach, but then his goal was to meet them at the property. Hey, could we get together and maybe I can help you out with this, or what challenges you're dealing with? I'd love to come see it. And if I can help you, great. People just legitimately believed he was there to help. And he was. He would go meet them at the property, and he was adding plenty of units and plenty of doors. And so direct to investors, these could be FRBOs. You just go and look at all these for rent by owners on different listing sites, or it could be just getting a list from a title company of out of state or non-owner occupied properties or whatever, right? And just being curious and helpful. So this can be a very effective strategy. It can work going direct. You don't have to always triangulate through a vendor or through a real estate agent, but if you can, that can be, the close rate generally will be higher. But this is a numbers game. And at every stage in a process like this, because this is very cold, and the more cold the interaction, the more important it is to be effective at sales. And so in a sales pipeline, there are multiple stages. So maybe there's the cold initial outreach. Then there is like maybe some sort of meeting set. And then there's a proposal review and whatever, right? At each stage, it's even more important to be more effective to get the deal. Whereas if you get a warm lead and it's a referral, so I've had clients say that their sales process is a real estate agent will email them and loop in an investor and say, hey, here is Susan. She's a property manager. She's who you should work with. They're the best. And she just emails a contract and they sign it. That's the whole sales process, right? That's an extreme example of what could happen if it's a warmer lead, right? Emails contract, and then the deal's closed. They sign it, right? And so that's not a typical sales process. Usually a sales process that's colder involves a lot more steps. So proposal, review, etc. And so we've got the different stages mapped out for this. And then you have to figure out, where are the leaks at these different stages that we need to dial in? And we need to focus on getting rid of and eliminating the leaks at the initial stages. Cool. I'm actually getting some appointments set and some meetings set. Great. Now at the meeting though, I'm not getting people to like go any further. Well, maybe we need to schedule a proposal review, and then you're like sending out proposals, not working effectively, and they're not signing it. They're not signing the contract. So maybe we need to get that leak shored up and dialed in, and et cetera. So we have to dial in all the leaks through the pipeline to make this effective. Once we do that, we have all the leaks dialed in. Now the engine is built. And that's why I say it's the last 10%, because we've got to get all of these leaks built all the way to winning and closing the deal, whatever the stages might be. And this is where you make money, right? So it's that last 10% of getting everything dialed in where you hit pay dirt and you get the bulk of the revenue coming in or deals coming in from this. And so direct to investors can be very effective. So let's let's go to, I'm going to talk about another strategy. How many of you are in the startup stage? You've got maybe less than 100 doors. You're kind of maybe you haven't maybe been in business for as long a time, or maybe you still are stuck kind of in that startup stage and would like to get some clients on, even though you don't feel like you have a bunch of doors. If that's you, this is my favorite strategy. We're going to talk about number 6. We're going to talk about product research interviews. This can work. This is my favorite strategy, research interviews. This is my favorite strategy for any new product or service, because it gives you proof of concept. It gives you also wealth of knowledge. And we'll talk about why this is important. But this is the strategy I used when I started DoorGrow's mastermind. This is the strategy I used when I've came up with different products or services, is I would do product research interviews, or I would ask a lot of people about this to get feedback to see if this was actually interesting to them. So here's how this works. Product research interviews is going to give you a couple of benefits. One, it's going to give you clients. if you do this correctly. And the methodology for that, sometimes I call this Trojan horse selling. Because the Trojan horse is an interview to do some research and get some feedback on your product or service. And inside of this, sales is happening. There's this magical little thing inside happening that's sales. And so this could be like Trojan horse selling. It's going to give you clients. The second thing is it's going to give you knowledge. Specifically, the type of knowledge that you need as a startup is knowledge on how to sell to them. Which I mean, how to target their pain and pleasure. Like, what do they want? Which is what you need to know in order to close deals, in order to sell to them. And more specifically, this is going to give you their language. You need to know their words, how they describe their challenges and what they want and their outcomes. This is the language that you will then use in your marketing, in your scripting for your calls, etc. You'll use this language. This is how I've generated millions and millions of dollars in revenue for DoorGrow, is because I know how a lot of you think and a lot how your problems are, because I've talked to thousands of property managers. I know it at such a fine detail, like level of detail, that I know if you just tell me how many doors you have, I can do a cold read on your business and tell you the problems you're probably dealing with right now at the stage that you're at, because I've talked to so many. And this is how I mapped out and built out our whole DoorGrow code roadmap and framework of how we coach and support clients through these various stages. And so this is going to give you a wealth of knowledge, and it's going to give you clients. And so basically the process for this is you're going to, let's go into the steps here. So step one, you need to find groups. These are groups, and this could be groups of people you're targeting for realtor referrals, or these could be groups of investors that you're going to target directly. So, but you need to find groups. Then you're going to go to these groups and you're going to talk to people, shake hands, make connections, and you're going to ask to interview them. Interview. So focusing specifically on investors, we want to find investors that have 4 units or more, right? So let's say they've got 4 units or more, and you're going to reach out, you're going to ask to interview them. And during the interview, you're going to do the 4-phase sort of pitch process, but you're going to do it by asking questions. So again, phase 1 is all about them. Have you used a property manager before? Why not? What are the things that you're dealing with the property? Do you enjoy doing those things? Like, okay, right? You're going to be very curious. You're going to find out all about them. Then you're going to tell them all about you. Well, thanks for sharing all that. That's super helpful. And thank you for all that information. And you're taking notes. You say, would it be cool if I told you a little bit about us and what we do? I'm starting this property management business, or I'm doing this. And now this doesn't have to just be used for startups. This can be used by experienced companies. One of our clients that had, I think like 200 units or something, he reached out to people to do product research interviews. And he said he was we gave him the idea of working on issuing a press release, and he wanted to interview some investors. You just need a reason to interview them, a reason to ask them questions. And so it could be that you're working on a press release or an article or something. You're going to source out to some newspapers and you're going to do this thing, right? So you're going to ask to interview them. Then when you interview them, you're going to go through the 3 phases. Then you're going to pitch. This is where you get to sell your services. You get to explain, here's what we're thinking of doing. Here's what we're thinking of charging. Here's all this. What do you think about all this? And so you're going to get real-time feedback on your pitch. for your business and your product, your service. Here's how we manage the properties. Here's what we do. Here's what we charge. And they're going to say, oh yeah, that makes sense, or that sounds expensive, or that sounds like this, or whatever. And then 4, you're going to ask. So the ask here is you're going to say, hey, Mr. Owner, thank you so much for all this feedback. It's super helpful. If we incorporate these ideas and do the stuff that we talked about in, during this pitch phase, do stuff that we had talked about and incorporate your ideas that you gave us, would it be overstepping or too much to ask for me to get back together with you and see if you might be interested in hearing our product and hearing about our services again, and see if maybe we could get you started in working with us? Would you be open to, basically to me selling to you, is kind of the ask, right? So if they say, sure, shoot your shot. And so let's say only half. So let's say they've got 4 units or more, and you go to an investor meetup and you meet a guy named Fred, and you're like, hey, Fred, how many units do you have? You're like, you're an investor? Yeah, that's why I'm here. How many units do you manage? Oh, I've got like 10 units. Oh, that's amazing. I would love to interview you. Interview me? Yeah, I'm doing some research. I'm starting a property management business because most of them suck. And I'm an investor and I couldn't find any good ones. So I'm starting a management company to help other investors, and including manage my own properties. And I'd love to interview and get some feedback. Oh yeah, I'd be open to that. Okay, cool. So let's say you interview them and you get to the ask, and let's say only half say yes. So, and on average, let's say they have at least 4 units. Then that cuts the units in half that you could be getting on. And then you're going to go through and you're going to do the whole pitch, the 4 phases again, but you're going to do a formal pitch. This is what we're selling. This is what we're offering, instead of asking questions about it. And you get to sell to them all over again. And there's already a relationship because they feel like they've invested and like helped you in getting this business going to some degree. So they feel some rapport naturally with you and they feel invested in you already, maybe emotionally. And then you're going to ask them again. And let's say only half of them on that second thing say yes. On average, if you're interviewing people with at least 4 units or more, and your rate is like 50% attrition at each of those major stages, you're going to be adding about a unit per interview that you do. All right. So anybody planning on doing product research interviews? It's kind of an interesting strategy. Okay, cool. It's super low pressure. It's a very low pressure ask, which is another reason I love to give it to startups, because there's not a lot of pressure to go to somebody and say, oh my gosh, you have that many units? I would love to interview you. I'm super curious about how you're doing this, and getting information, right? People are always flattered to give advice and to give knowledge and to be able to be interviewed. Oh yeah, I would be happy to. Okay, cool. Do you have time right now? Or can we do this later? Let's schedule time, right? All right. So let's go back to maybe direct to investors, or this could be towards real estate agents, but let's talk about groups. Groups is another very effective strategy, but it's usually done very, very wrong. Anybody ever presented to a group about your property management business? I see one hand, some of you are writing. All right. So presenting to groups. And so groups, let's talk about groups and how to make this effective. Here's what does not work generally. When you're targeting groups, the challenge is usually people will present to like a real estate office, a bunch of agents, and they'll say, hey, we're really great, and we do property management, and if any of your clients need us, let us know. And then you walk away from that group interaction and everybody is like, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, it's really interesting, or whatever. You try to get some feedback, but you walk away and you have no leads. Anyone ever done that? Presented to a group and you walk away and you just don't have a pile of leads? I want you to walk away from group interactions with a pile of leads. Okay. Now, this is a more advanced strategy targeting groups. I recommend you get good at all the one-on-one strategies that we've covered so far before you go after group interactions. Why? Because if you can't sell to one-on-one, going after groups is just wasting and blowing your opportunity. It's wasting the opportunity. So I want you to cut your teeth and put in your reps on one-to-one interactions. Get really good at your 4-phase selling, get really good at your golden bridge script and stuff that we teach. Get really good at selling directly so your close rate is high, even with colder leads or lukewarm leads. And then we go after groups. Why? Because groups are an amazing opportunity that is very easy to blow and waste. And we don't want to waste those opportunities. So with targeting groups, we want to, usually I'll recommend clients build out like a Dream 100 list. And a Dream 100 list would be a list of like prospects and people that you want to connect with, reach out to, that are, and maybe like the biggest whales or real estate brokers in your market. Maybe it's people that have a Facebook group that is like a big buy sell trade group or real estate investing group or something in your market. Like those people could be on your Dream 100 list. And I would stack rank them. I would rank them so that you've got the best people at the top and the biggest and at the bottom. And then I would start working from the bottom of the list, right? We don't want to blow our biggest opportunities first. I want you to get good before you go after the biggest fish and the biggest whales that could be creating a lot of leverage and connection for you. These could be brokers that have a lot of connections. It could be somebody that has a podcast on real estate investing that targets your market, whatever it might be. Somebody that runs a big Facebook group full of investors. It could be the person that runs the Real Estate Investor Association in your area, the RIA group, or whatever. So we want to first identify targets. And once we've identified our targets, then we want to go after these people and we want to create connections with them. And so how do we create connections? Become their friends on social media, follow them, start commenting and liking all their shit, like whatever it takes to like build connections. This is how I got Mike Michalowicz, one of the authors I really enjoy his material, to be on my podcast and to speak at my conference in the past. And so, this is how I've gotten, pretty much anybody that you have an intention on long enough to be connected to them, you'll eventually be connected to them. And so a lot of the people I've had on my Dream 100 list, I've either worked with as coaches or I paid to work with them or I've done stuff. And, there's ways of creating these relationships. Some of them didn't even cost me money. So you want to create and build those connections. And then you want to provide value. But you're going to offer to provide value to the group. Like, hey, and so the way to do this is you need to go and start doing maybe a little bit of product research interviews, but you're going to start questioning these group members. You're going to interact and be in the group and provide value. And you're going to ask them, hey, what challenges are you having? What issues are you dealing with? So if this is an in-person networking group, you would go to this group and be like, hey, yeah, I'm doing a little research. What's your biggest challenge with your rental properties? Or why are you here? What challenges are you dealing with your investments? And you're going to start taking notes so that you can go to this connection and say, hey, Fred, you have this awesome group. I've actually been, kind of a fly on the wall in the group for a little while now. I've been talking to all the different investors that come to your group meetings and I've been asking them this question. And the general feedback I'm getting is they have these 3 or 4 topics that are their biggest challenges that they're dealing with. And I would love to come present on this first topic and just provide some value so that you get to present. And they're always looking for content. Podcast hosts are always looking for content. They have a group and a community. People that have a RIA group, they're looking for content. They need speakers. They need somebody to come because they don't want it always to be them. And so they're like, yeah, sure. And so you're going to present. Now, what's cool, if you're presenting to a group, they will usually promote you to that group for free. This is free marketing and free advertising to an entire group. I had a client do this to a Real Estate Investor Association group. He went and presented, asked if he could present. He downloaded one of our trainings that we have, a PowerPoint called the 411 on Leasing. That's in our older training called Prospecting Secrets in DoorGrow Academy. He downloaded this training and put his logo on it. And basically in this training, you scare the shit out of all the real estate agents in handling leases and showing all the ins and outs. And so all these real estate agents then in this group then we're referring anything related to leases or property management. And why? Because one of our clients who had done this originally said that they were working in the local board of realtors, and they said the number one source of complaints at the local board of realtors were not real estate related. They were all property management related. So she's like, I can help with that. And it was generally related to like people screwing up handling leases or leasing or stuff like this. So she's like, I'll create a course called the 411 on leasing. And she just gave way more info than anybody would care to know and scared the crap out of all the real estate agents. And she just started getting emails from real estate agents saying, hey, you should work with Karen and she'll take care of you and she'll handle your lease and your property management stuff. And she was just emailing back, sign this contract and getting deals. And so going after groups can be very effective. So that act of presenting to real estate agents was a great group. It could be directly to investors. But if you present, what I recommend to make this even more effective is that use a QR code. Everybody knows what those are now, thanks to the pandemic, right? Every time you scanned a menu, it was a QR code. Use a QR code, link this, the link in the QR code. You can go just Google QR code generator and you can plug in a link. And the link that you want is to some sort of calendar scheduling thing. So if you have DoorGrow CRM, you could have a calendar page there. You could use Calendly, which is also popular, but you're going to send them to a schedule page. And on that, you want to capture their name, which it does, their email, and make sure you add cell phone. This is where you get a lead. So if you're presenting to a group of real estate agents, you say, hey, and you want to do things like trial closes in your group interaction, which is by show of hands, which you've noticed I've been doing throughout this whole event, because it gets people engaged, right? By show of hands, how many of you would like to maximize, have rental properties or would want to maximize your investments? Oh, cool. You get people to raise their hand. Cool. If your hand is up, make sure and scan this QR code that I have up on the screen and book a time with me. I recommend you give them that opportunity 3 times minimum during your event. At the outset, for the early adopters, hey, if you're, before we get started, if you're interested in making more money off your rental property and getting your property assessed and any of this is interesting to you, how many of you would think that'd be interesting? Okay, cool. It's like social proof. Everyone raises their hands. Cool. If you have your hand up, scan this QR code and it's first come, first serve, scarcity, right? First come, first serve. I don't have a lot of availability on my schedule, but grab a time. And I will show this later for those of you that are like, you know, a little skeptical once I presented some stuff, but those of you that already know you might be interested in this, go ahead and book a time. You're going to get a name, an email, and a phone number. You have a lead. You now have the leads. You should walk away with a pile of leads, right? And they're scheduled. So there's an appointment scheduled. So this is like, you've got a lead and an appointment, which is the next step. And you've collapsed time on this significantly. And then you get to present and showcase value. So they're going to be like, man, I better show up to that event. I'm like going to get all this value. I've gotten all this value and I know I can trust them. And so now you have a lead. They go into your CRM and then you're going to continue until you get the deal, right? So now they're in your sales pipeline. You want to present again, maybe at the break. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. For those of you that have gotten value from this, by show of hands, how many of you are hands up? If you have not yet scheduled with me, I still have some slots available. Here's my QR code I'll put up again. Go ahead and book a time. And then at the end, how many of you found this presentation valuable, got some value from this, and would like to maximize your rental property or get into more investments? I would love to help you do that. Here's my QR code. For those of you that have not yet, there's a few more slots available. Grab a time. And you're going to walk away with a pile of leads, right? A very simple thing to do. And you'll walk away with a pile of leads. And so we want to make sure that we have a good presentation, that we've got some humor, that we can do a good job during this, but that we give them the opportunity to give us leads, right? So we walk away with leads. We want leads. Cool. All right. How many of you are going to be working on some group interactions? And there's a lot more science to how to present to a group, how to command attention at the beginning of a group interaction, how to make sure you're not boring, how to like change your voice and stuff like this. But if you get good at doing groups, this is one-to-many sales, will give you a pile of leads, give you plenty of social proof among the audience. And you can even have some clients or people there as well. What are you showing us, John McBoy? showing us Tony Robbins, Personal Power.
Yeah, because if you want to get good in front of groups, he has a lot of good information in there.
Oh, that book. Okay. I don't know if I've
Well,
read that one.
it's a cassette. This is the newest
Oh,
version. That's what I used to become the national training director for a company. All these
got it.
little things that they have in here as far as presenting to groups.
I'll
I had
check it out.
700
So
salespeople, so it's good.
yeah, sounds good. All right, cool. So so there's definitely a science to being effective with groups in converting people into leads and getting business. Hopefully I've given you enough to actually get started with this as a growth engine, but groups can be a very effective strategy. All right, so we've covered 7, and I believe that's what we promised and what we said we would get into, 7 different growth strategies. There are others. You can definitely do acquisitions. We have some content in our platform for acquisitions for our super system clients that are at the next level in the mastermind. And you can use social media. I'm going to be talking about this at DoorGrow Live, how to leverage this more effectively and some of the things that you could do to create thought leadership and authority in your market. I've made millions of dollars using social media. It's probably how several of you have heard about me. And so make sure you get your tickets at DoorGrow Live. Go to doorgrowlive.com and make sure you get your rooms. We have a group rate right now that's going away soon. So make sure you get your rooms. It's at the Kalahari Resort in Round Rock, Texas, North Austin. Austin's a really fun area. And so make sure you get your rooms booked. And the hotel's super cool. So it's if you want to bring your family, spend a couple days in conference with us and spend some other days as making it also a vacation. It has the world's largest indoor water park. It has this huge play area of like climbing stuff and ropes course type stuff and whatever as well. It has escape rooms. It has, it's a really cool resort and plenty of restaurants, and it has this big outdoor swimming area as well. And it's a really cool place. So it's a new resort. It's really big. So check out that. You can check that out at doorgrowlive.com. All right, so we've covered the growth strategies. How many have found this valuable or helpful? And cool. All right, awesome. So for those that are not familiar with DoorGrow, and I know that we've got some clients here on this call, just want to let you know, if you would like to go deeper into any of these strategies, you would like to do more with us, reach out to us. You can just email Sarah with an H at doorgrow.com and talk to my lovely wife and the operator of DoorGrow, and she can get you some more details and get set up. And I want all of you to, some of you probably been, if those of you that are watching the replay, we hear this all the time. You're a fan of the podcast. You've been watching DoorGrow for a long time. And I just want to put the challenge out there. It's probably time for you right now to stop sitting on the sidelines and for you to be the people that are getting the results that our clients are getting. It's time for you to start winning. It's time for you to start getting results. We want to help those of you that are ready to take action and get your business going. We know that our stuff works. It's proven, it's tested. We've helped lots and lots of people do this stuff. We just need good people that are willing to do it. And if you're willing to trust us and do it, and I think we're pretty trustworthy, it's pretty easy to trust us. We have plenty of social proof, plenty of case studies. We have more testimonials in the property management coaching space than any other business in the space, period. Any other coaches. Not only that, but we have a much better track record than any of the other coaches in the industry. And the reason we keep clients, the reason clients stay with us even for years, is because we continue to help them grow and help them succeed. And we would love to do that for you. So if that's of interest to you, reach out to us at doorgrow.com. We've got a few minutes. I'm happy to hang out just for a little bit. If anyone has some questions that they want to ask about any of these growth strategies, your head's probably spinning. There's a lot thrown out pretty quickly. There's a lot of nuance to these, but if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to get into it while we're hanging out, or if you have questions about DoorGrow, happy to hang out. So I'd love to have some of you comment like what you're going to do or what you found valuable or what you found stood out to you or what's interesting. So who's high? Who wants to chime in first? And if you
Hey,
have
Jason,
questions, feel free to unmute.
I had a quick question
Hey,
for you,
Jake.
but first I just wanted to share that for a free coaching session, I have been on several of these kinds of things for different businesses in the corporate world over the past decade, and I would say this is probably the most value I've ever gotten out of one of these calls. It wasn't one of those things where I was, doodling on a page throughout. I mean, was diligently taking notes because you were giving some great information. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Then you would really like to go even deeper with us, I'm sure, because this is
Yeah.
to me this was light and high level, and I know 90% of the people that would watch this, they would probably try most of the stuff and not really succeed. Like when we go deep, we make sure everything gets dialed in. But thanks, I
Cool.
appreciate that. It's really awesome.
Yeah. So the question I had for you was just real quick, harkening back to, I think, number 3 about like the incentive program for the vendor. So that's something that we've talked about internally before, and our owner and myself and several of our members are all licensed agents. So I believe, at least in our state, there are restrictions where we can't pay non-licensed folks. So is there a good strategy to get around that?
Okay, so the second strategy, like vendor intros. So, well, when you understand people psychologically, it's not always money that motivates people. This is a big mistake we make as entrepreneurs. We always assume everybody else wants money because we like money, right? I'm guessing, Jacob, you don't hate money.
I don't.
Okay, me neither, right? The thing though, if you do a DISC assessment on your team members or on people in your business, what you'll notice is usually there's a values index and it talks about the economic score. And on the economic score, usually entrepreneurs and salespeople, like your BDM, will have a high economic score. Everybody else has a low economic score generally. Everybody else, which means they don't really like money, not the way that we do. What that means is if the economic score is low, they're not money motivated, they're recognition motivated. And so sometimes they just need recognition. A lot of people just need recognition. Now they're business owners, so they might be money motivated. That's probably likely, but everybody tends to also like recognition. And so if you can't do money, then we want to like also give them positive dopamine hits through connection or reward. It could be you give them a gift card to something to say thank you, or even just a thank you note or a letter, or you call them out publicly on social media and tell people you should use this plumber, they're the best, or whatever it might be, right? I like to get raw milk, and I was hanging out at their booth and I wanted to help them out because I know the more successful they are, the better. They'll continue to sell the raw milk in our area, which is super healthy. So I like pulled out my phone. I did a Facebook Live, just giving a testimonial about how good their milk tastes. It's like amazing, and doing like that, right? Just wherever you can, you give value back, and that a lot of times is enough, right? And you just want to, like, sometimes it's just a heartfelt direct thank you to them. Hey, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. And they feel good. And that gives them the incentive to do it again. It's whatever makes them feel good is what's going to anchor them wanting to do it again. Sometimes that's money, but it doesn't have to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great answer. Thank you.
Yeah. And then there's always little loopholes. Well, I can't give them something with monetary, like direct money value, but I can give them this gift, or I can do this. And so you'll just have to figure out what legally you can get away with. So, and I'm
Cool.
definitely not the one for legal advice. All right, cool. Yeah, great question. All right, cool. Anyone else want to chime in? What maybe what you got from this, and if you have any questions.
On section 2 for vendors, I liked thinking a little deeper into the process. How, like you're saying with these incentives, what can we do in talking to these vendors to maybe see what their pain points are and how we could find something of value, but now that keeps us on the top of their list. Because outside of most people, every one of these vendors is in one way or another going to deal with a property investor. whether they want to or not. So finding a way to keep us on the top of their list was definitely a nice perspective of something to work on.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I could add on to that for Baron is that the guy who called me yesterday who asked if we were looking to take on business, his pain point was that he works with a lot of property management companies, and some of them are a pain in the ass. They don't pay on time, they don't communicate, or they, whatever are the issues that they're dealing with. And he's looking to help move his clients to people who will be easier for him to work with. We're in the middle of that. So billing, communication, a lot of the, whatever those things are for that particular vendor, I think how we pay them, how quickly we pay them is probably a big one.
Yeah, that's huge. Having good relationships with the vendors that you do work with is super important. The better the job you do in everything that you do, with tenants, with owners, with vendors, the easier it is for word of mouth and magic to happen for your business, for sure. Yeah, it's
Hey,
great.
Jason, I came on today to kind of get an idea of where I needed to start because I didn't know. I just know I want
Okay.
to grow, and you did provide a lot of valuable information. I appreciate both you and Sarah for taking the time. And I'm getting ready to go on a short little vacation, but when I get back, I'll be giving you a call.
Oh,
And I
okay.
got to
We'll
sign
look forward
off.
to it.
So anyway,
Yeah,
thank
go
you
for it.
both.
All right, take that vacation. All right, cool. All right, anyone else want to chime in before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you. You guys are awesome. I've learned so
Appreciate it.
much from you. And even if you think you know everything, we really don't. And you always need somebody to counterbalance your ideas to say, no, don't go down that road. Because here's what happened when this person went down that road. So being part of a group makes us better as a whole. So thank y'all. Thank everybody. Thank you, Jason and Sarah. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, John. I just need more clients like you. So if any of you know people like John, just send them our way. So no, we have great clients. We appreciate all of you that are clients. I think we attract the best in the industry. Really, really appreciate the caliber of the people that we attract and the growth-minded people that we attract in the industry. I think we attract the best people, period, in the property management industry. And so it'll be really cool for everybody to get together at DoorGrow Live. So if you want to come experience, this is like some of the greatest people in property management, come hang out at DoorGrow Live. So you can come see us. All right, cool. Well, anyone else want to chime in before we wrap up? No? Okay. All right. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Hope this was valuable. And until next time, to our mutual growth. Bye, everyone.